Hey, milk cartons and melon tartans. Big shout out to my university there. Go tartans! The heck's a tartan? Hey everybody, my name is John and welcome to ADITW, a day in the Word, the internet's favorite Bible study. I got a doozy for you today. You ready? You ready? I want you to read Nehemiah chapter 9 verses 6 through 37. Now, I know for some of you, that was a lot to read. A lot of history. But I promise you, it will be worth it. Or at least I hope. I want to start today by telling you all something that I believe to my core. And that is that remembering what God has done in the past gives us greater faith for what He's doing in our present. Hold on to that one, because we're going to come back to it. In the section that we just read, we find this sort of half prayer, half confession, half oral history of the relationship between God and His people. And while you were reading it, my guess is that much of it sounded pretty familiar to you. So why read it again? Why read a summary of stuff I already know about? But what really stuck out to me while reading through this passage this week were the beautiful reminders that were hidden within it. While reading this perhaps redundant history, I was reminded of some attributes and characteristics of our God. And I was encouraged to see how He has been putting those attributes into action since the beginning of time. In case you missed them, here are a few characteristics of our God evidenced in this passage. In verse 6, we read that our God is the only true God. In verse 8, we read that our God is righteous. In verse 9, we discover that our God is attentive to the cries of His people. Verse 11, God performs signs on behalf of His people. Verse 12, God leads His people where they should go. Verses 13 and 14, God speaks to His people and He teaches them right from wrong. And throughout the rest of this passage, we see God provide for His people. He's forgiving, gracious, merciful, abounding in love, faithful, still attentive to the cries of His people, even in their rebellion. We see that our God is great, mighty, and awesome. Awesome. Now, remember what I said earlier? That remembering what God has done in the past gives us greater faith for what He's doing in our present. Sometimes we can read about the God of the Bible and see all the miraculous signs and wonders and begin to wonder, why isn't God doing that right now? But oftentimes, it's hard to see how God is working in the moment, when you're in the middle of it. However, if we do believe that our God is unchanging and everlasting, then everything we just discovered about Him in this passage, all of that stuff is still true today. Sometimes we need to remember that we worship the same God who parted the Red Sea. We worship the same God who provided for His people in the wilderness. We worship the same God who was patient over and over again with their disobedience. And because of this, we can take hope that even when we can't see His presence working in our lives right now, that the same God who kept His promises then is still keeping His promises now. Sometimes one of the best ways to push ourselves into God's future for us is to remember the amazing things that He has done in our past. Hello friends, thank you for watching another episode of ADITW. I hope it was a blessing for you. I really do appreciate those of you who watch every single week. I want you to comment down below and tell me how many weeks, how long have you been watching this show? And do you watch it every week or not? So how long and how often do you watch? I really want to know because I'm so grateful to all of you, the thousands of you who tune in and watch this show. And I pray every single week that it would be a blessing to you because you all are a blessing to me. So make sure to comment down below and let me know. That is all I have for you this week. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast, the Joncast on iTunes, everywhere you want to find it, it's there. Also follow me on Instagram at Jon Jorgenson. That is all I have. I love you all. Keep being awesome.